I got my hands on Fusion Audio Lab's Virtual Pedalboard Bundle. If you want to hear how they actually sound, then join me for this episode of I Don't Have a Band, right now. Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed lonely rocker. Thanks for joining me for this episode of I Don't Have a Band. I decided to switch things up a little bit today. I've got this great bundle of pedal plugins from Fuzz Audio Labs, and I thought the best way to demonstrate the plugins was just to use them in a session, and that's what I did. That track you heard off the top, these pedal plugins from this bundle, it's the Virtual Pedalboard Bundle. Say that fast. Those plugins are used all over that session. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples of how I actually use those plugins. To start, the Big Sur. That's just a big gnarly fuzz pedal, and it's actually free. You can head over to Fuzz Audio Labs right now, grab it for free. I have to admit that I'm typically not a fuzz guy. I'm more into classic overdrive tones. I've got a fuzz pedal on my board, and I find that I don't use it a lot. But I really gave it a go for this session, and I actually found a way to work it into my sound. I double track my guitars a lot, and that rhythm guitar part in sort of that verse section where one track is sort of a high gain sound from my Marshall, and the other track, I recorded it clean, and then I added the Big Sur just to give that sort of fuzzy tone, and I blended the two together, and I really, really like the results. Another pedal in this bundle is the El-Germano, and this is a 60s style overdrive. Now, those of you that follow my channel know that I'm a bit traditional in how I record my guitars. I like using an amplifier. Recently, I've added a DI and a load box so I can record at night, but I'm still using my tube amp, and I've got a big pedal board with, different choices on there, and an overdrive, for example, is that typically you would run that into the face of the amp and just really push the amp into natural breakup, and that's the kind of tones that I typically like. But the El-Germano, what I really liked about it is it actually cleaned up the tracks really nice, made them really punchy, and I used it on virtually, if not all, most of the tracks in this session really early in the plugin chain, and it just really gave a breath of fresh air to the track. Like I said, made it punchy, a little more articulate, and it sort of set a good platform and foundation for that track. And then later on, I added either a Big Sur and some of the other pedals, plugins that are in this bundle. But the El-Germano really, really surprised me. I even used it on bass. So the bass track in this song has got the El-Germano on there as well. And again, I'll show you that in a second. Another plugin in this bundle is the OCTAFISH. And what the OCTAFISH does, it adds sort of a sub-octave signal to your sound. Now, those sub-octaves, sub-frequencies, it's not something I typically think about a lot in a rock genre. Maybe it's more of an EDM thing. So at first I struggled where to use it. But that opening riff to this track, that's got OCTAFISH all over it. It really fattened up that sound, just made it sound huge, and I thought it was a great effect to use for the opening. In fact, that opening riff, I used almost all of the plugins in this bundle just to see what they all sounded like together, and that's what I came up with. So again, I'll show you that one in a second. There's a noise gate, the Gate 230. Honestly, well, using a fuzz that I find typically a little noisy for my taste, I was able to use the noise gate just to tame it a little bit and clean it up. And you know what? Having a noise gate in your toolbox is a good thing to have, and it's a handy little noise gate for sure. And the last one in the bundle is Chorus 65. It's a great chorus pedal plugin. Chorus effects are great. I use them mostly on clean tones, but I found that this chorus it's kind of a clean chorus. It's not too lush or too crazy, and I used it in the solo. I used it in sort of those guitar melodies, those haunting melodies in the background, and I absolutely used it in that opening as well to create that really big sound. Actually, originally I single tracked it, and the chorus effect alone kind of gave me that stereo spread and that big sound, and I thought it sounded great. And then I got greedy and decided I wanted to add more, so I double tracked it again to get that really big sound. So why don't I step you through just a couple parts of the song just so you can see what these different plugins have to offer. All right, so let's take a look at the first example. Now for all of the guitar parts, whether it's a clean or a heavy sound, I'm using my Marshall JCM 900. It's a 2-channel amp. One is set to a real high gain setting, and the other one is fairly clean, just maybe a little bit of breakup. I'm going direct through a 2-Notes Captor 8 load box DI that gets me in so I don't have to mic the cabs. So just to explain the chain that I've got here, on this first one I am showing you the intro riff to the song, that really big sound. So my plugin chain here is I do use a channel strip, and then I've got the OCTAFISH, then the El-Germano, Big Sur. This torpedo plugin is actually the speaker IR, which is necessary when we're recording direct. And then I've got the Chorus 65, and then I polish that off with an EQ. It is double tracked. I've got pretty much the same plugin chain on both. So here's what it sounds like with all the effects on. So it's a pretty massive sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the Fuzz Audiolab plugins. So really all I'm left with here is the direct signal through a channel strip. Like I said, I need a speaker IR that's just going to sound terrible in the final EQ. So here's what it sounds like without any of the Fuzz Audiolab plugins. Oh, so not very inspiring. So let's start off, I'll bring in the OCTAFISH. That's starting to bring those really low frequencies. So now the El-Germano, now watch what it does. So that's what I mean, as I said in the opening, where it sort of really sets your platform nice so you can start to create after. It really cleans it up nice, creates that real, punchy sound that gives you a little bit more to work with. So now on top of that, I'll throw the Big Sur. That's just your big fuzz tone. And just to give it that extra big wide sound, I threw the Chorus 65 on near the end of the chain. And here's the final sound. All right, next I want to take a look at the bass guitar. I used the El-Germano in the plugin chain for the bass. I'll just walk you through the chain that I've got on here. I'm using an Ampeg amp simulator, and then that follows up with the El-Germano, and then I'm using a channel strip. I use a saturation plugin and an EQ. But I want to show you the difference that the El-Germano on its own makes to this chain. So I'm going to play it without the El-Germano. I'll give you an example of what that sounds like. a big difference that makes. I mean, I've got obviously a number of other plugins in the chain, but the El-Germano alone makes a really huge difference. Let's listen to it in context of the drums. So you can see it makes a huge difference. Just that little bit extra, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of punch that just sort of pushes it up the mix a little bit. Obviously you've got gain control, so there's maybe a little bit of level going on, but it's a lot more than that. It's really a lot cleaner and punchier, and really helps the bass a lot inside the mix. Okay, now I want to take a look at the guitar solo. In the guitar solo, I'll just take you through the plugin chain. I've got the channel strip plugin again. I've got the El-Germano second, my speaker IR, the Core 65, and then I've got a delay, and then I finish that off with a little EQ. I just want to show you what a big impact the El-Germano and Core 65 have to the sound of this solo. So I'll start off, we're going to play it in context. I'll play a bit of the solo without the two plugins, and then I'll bring them in. So you can see they made a really, really big difference. Again, the El-Germano just gives you that good bass, that good platform, brings up the articulation and the punchiness of the signal, and the Core 65 just really brought a lot of character to the solo, that real modulation, stereo spread that really distinguish the solo part from everything else in the song. So overall, I really believe that these two pedals alone made a huge impact, considering I do have other plugins in the chain, but the final polish and character really came from the El-Germano and the Core 65. Well, there's the Fuzz Audio Labs Virtual Pedalboard Bundle. Honestly, it's a no-brainer. If you're looking to start building your arsenal of effects for guitar, it's definitely worth checking out. I'll put a link to Fuzz Audio Labs in the description so you can go over there and check it out for yourself. I found it very useful. I have a lot of plugins, and like I said, I use my traditional tools, but I actually found a lot of use, and I can see myself using these going forward. I mean, the El-Germano really sticks out for me as something that is just a simple way just to clean up your tracks, kind of get it prepped for anything you want to add later. And probably my other favorite is the Core 65. I love chorus effects, and never can have enough of it. And I like its simplicity, and I really love just the big sound that it gave me without overdoing it. So it was a really, really handy little plugin. It's a great little bundle, so I highly recommend you check it out for yourself and see if it works for you. Well, if you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned a subscribe. I've got a lot of videos on this channel revolving around this home studio. I've got gear reviews, I've got stories, lots of resources for the home studio musician, so hopefully you'll hit that subscribe and come along for the ride. If you really want to support this channel, I am on Patreon. The links to all things I've discussed are in the description below, and above all else, I hope to see you again in another video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you can do by yourself, right from your own home. I hope to see you again next time.